Hello there, race fans, and welcome back to Clutch Kickers Racing for round 9 of the Clutch Kickers Group 3 Racing League. We're here this week at Tokyo Expressway for 30 laps in torrential rain. Should be quite chaotic. The last race we had in torrential rain was at Spa, and yeah, it was quite eventful. So yeah, this one should be good. Looking forward to it. I want to start off by apologising in advance if my voice sounds a little off or if I don't seem quite as energetic as previous videos. I am quite sick at the moment. I'm currently battling the flu and trying to get better from that. But nevertheless, the show must go on, as they say. So, yeah, here we are. But we will take a moment to go through the qualifying order. Unlike the last two races, thankfully the qualifying laps did not get deleted this time. So everyone actually did get to qualify, and we have a proper starting order. So in P1, we've got Velicor in the Peugeot VGT, followed by CC21 in P2 in the Porsche 911, Aaron Thompson in P3 in the Subaru BRZ, and we've got Hoo-Ha in P4, also in the Subaru, and Rudzi in P5 in the Peugeot, John Citizen in P6 in the Mazda Vision, Toe Cutter in P7, also in the Peugeot, Boothie in P8, who was Smooth Vintage in the last video, Kiwi and Oz in P9 driving the Mercedes AMG, I think it is. Vital Philly in P10 driving the Subaru BRZ, and Josh H in P11 also driving the Subaru BRZ. But without further ado, let's get racing. Alright, 3, 2, 1, and they're away. We'll follow Velicor, the race leader, on the launch. It seems as though everyone managed to get away pretty well. Velicor's had a great start, actually. He's pulled over in front of CC to block off potential overtake. CC will get the slipstream from Velicor up into turn 1 here. However, the straight line speed of the Peugeot is no match for the Porsche 911, so I don't think CC is going to be able to make a move on him. And we've got Hoo-Ha going up the inside here in turn 1. Could potentially be a little later on the brakes. That's a fantastic move by Hoo-Ha. He's passed both Aaron and CC in turn 1 there, and he's made it stick as well. So that's great effort by Hoo-Ha from P4 up into P2 in the first corner. Excellent job. So as we come around the first corner now, we'll quickly go through the grid order after the launch. We've got Velicor in P1, Hoo-Ha in P2, CC21 in P3, Rudzi in P4, Aaron Thompson sitting in P5, so it looks like he's potentially actually lost some positions in the first couple of corners there, followed by Kiwi and Oz in P6, John Citizen in P7, Toe Cutter in P8, Boothie in P9, Josh H in P10, and Vital Philly in P11. But we'll head back to Velicor now, the race leader, as they're cruising around on cold tyres in torrential rain for lap 1. It does take a couple of laps for these tyres to warm up, and as you can see, Hoo-Ha is hot on his tail. You can see Hoo-Ha's definitely got a little more pace through these corners. The Peugeot's more of a straight line speed car, and it looks like Hoo-Ha went a little bit wide in that corner and gave the wall a little bit of a love tap. But yeah, the Peugeot definitely a straight line monster, whereas the Subaru BRZ is more of a cornering weapon, I guess you could say. So this will be really interesting to see if Velicor is able to hold him off in the corner sections where he's potentially a little slower and make up lost time along the straight. And yeah, this will be a perfect example of just how powerful the Peugeot is along the straight here. You've got Hoo-Ha in his slipstream, and it would appear that Velicor is just pulling away at quite a rapid pace, even with Hoo-Ha in his slipstream. So I do believe that the Peugeot gets about an extra 10 to 13 kilometers over the Subaru BRZ along these straights. But this battle will be epic, as it is in every race. Velicor and Hoo-Ha, mate, these guys neck and neck every single race. But we'll go back through the grid order now. We've got CC comfortably cruising in P3. He's definitely, not out of the picture for a P2 or P1 battle. If Hoo-Ha or Velicor make a mistake in these opening laps, CC is definitely in position to capitalise. We've got Rudzi and Aaron having a little bit of a battle here into turn 1. Rudzi goes a little wide. It is going to grant him the better corner exit. Aaron does get the overtake on him, but definitely sacrifices the corner exit by taking the inside line there. And Rudzi, with the much better corner exit, is able to regain that position. So that's great driving by Rudzi there. Willing to sacrifice the inside line to Aaron. And, knowing that he'd have the better corner exit if he took the outside line. And I imagine these two guys will be having an epic battle the majority of this race. If anything, it's been a bit of a trend lately, but Aaron and Rudzi are constantly battling each other, as well as Velikor and Hoo-Ha every race. It's great to see. And it looks like Rudzi sort of bounced off the wall a little there. Would have cost him a couple of hundreds. And Aaron's right on his tail. They actually make a little contact there. Aaron does back off the throttle just slightly in order to, concede any time gain from that. But I imagine that that's sort of going to be a bit of a tradition throughout the 30 laps of this race. You know, you tap the brakes and the cars just slide. It's really sort of treacherous driving conditions. So sometimes little taps like that just can't be avoided. As they come up to the last sweeping left-hand corner onto the home straight here. Looks like Aaron's going to go for a move up the inside. He's a little late on the brakes there. And he does slide through the corner, making contact with Rudzi. Thankfully, Rudzi's able to correct himself on that wall, but Aaron does spin around there, and thankfully the ghosting is allowing all of the grid to get through really clean. But it looks like he's actually caught on the wall there. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Yeah, it's actually just a bit of lag more than anything, but that's a very unfortunate mistake by Aaron there. Goes from, what was that? I think it was P5 or P4 all the way down into last position, and he's definitely on the back foot now. But yeah, as you can see, you get on the brakes a little late there, and the car just slides. And, you know, Rudzi definitely did hold his line there, allowing room for Aaron up the inside. But due to the fact that Aaron had absolutely no traction, he just slid out into Rudzi's line and bounced off him. I think the best case scenario in that accident is, Aaron copping the, I guess, the major loss of time there due to the fact that it really was his fault. That was definitely no fault of Rudzi, but yeah, that's very unfortunate for Aaron. We'll go back to the race leader now. We've got Velikor and Hoo-Ha still cruising along in P1 and P2, and again followed by CC. CC does, I want to say he's slightly falling off a little, but realistically, he's kind of floating about maybe 1 to 2 seconds behind Hoo-Ha and not really losing that gap. You know, he's sort of comfortably in that range. But we know from the race at Spa that the Porsche 911 is a fantastic car in the wet. It handles absolutely beautifully. However, I do think that the long straights at Tokyo here are potentially going to jeopardize CC and his lap times. That the Porsche's straight line speed is definitely considered, one of the lower tiers in the Group 3 category. As you can see, CC is running the stock standard livery for the Porsche 911, so I reckon he's probably just quickly snapped up this car before the race and decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. Didn't even give himself time to get a livery. But that's alright, mate. All good, all good. And Rudzi still cruising along back in P4. He has lost a little bit of ground due to that mild accident he had with Aaron there. As you can see, taking the inside line for the corner entry, swinging around, and then taking the inside line for the corner exit, getting early on the throttle there and allowing maximum corner exit speed so that you can maximize the amount of speed you get along this straight here. But currently Hoo-Ha with the fastest lap is 2:14.4, which is going to be difficult for Velikor to beat actually, because Hoo-Ha is in his slipstream pretty much every lap at the moment. But this is a great battle between these two guys. And due to the fact that Hoo-Ha tends to make up a lot of ground on Velikor in the cornering parts of the track, it is going to make passing really difficult. I think it's safe to say that it's relatively impossible for Hoo-Ha to pass Velikor on the straights, as Velikor just pulls away from him. So Hoo-Ha's only real chance of an overtake is through these cornering sections, but if Velikor is able to close the door on him in every corner, it's going to make passing extremely difficult. We've got some great battles going on back in the back half of the grid here. Got Kiwi and Oz back in P6, followed by Boothie and John Citizens right on the rear end of Boothie, followed by Vital Philly and Josh H. These four guys, so battles from 7th all the way back to 10th, all within about half a second of each other at the moment, which is fantastic to see. Actually, sorry, it's 6th all the way back to 10th, so this is a 5-car battle here, really. But it's good to see that Kiwi and Oz was able to get into the lobby with this Mercedes here. There was a bit of an issue with the Mercedes for about a week where if you tried to enter the Mercedes into a lobby for whatever reason, the game would crash, which was really unfortunate because it's a very popular car. A lot of people really do like driving it, but it seems as though the developers have managed to fix that issue just in time for this league race. And thankfully, Kiwi was able to bring the car in. And it is a beautiful car. That's a absolutely gorgeous livery as well. The purple and white with the Clutch Kickers logo. Love it. Good to see. And we've got Boothie with John Citizen in his slipstream in the Mazda Vision. John goes a little wide there, gets a little bit sideways. He does manage to catch it though. But there's we'll watch this battle for a little bit because there's potential that if John gets a good corner exit here, he could potentially pass Boothie along the straight or maybe even into turn 1. In saying that though, Boothie is in the Peugeot, and I've said it multiple times now, but the straight line speed of that Peugeot on this track, it's kind of broken, I'm not going to lie. But as you can see here, John Citizen on the tail end of Boothie here. And it doesn't look like John's gaining on him, but it also doesn't look like Boothie's pulling away from him, so it would appear that the straight line speed of that Mazda is actually quite decent. And I think John's a little bit too far back now to make a potential move down into turn 1. It would be a mighty lunge indeed, and I don't think it would pay off for him. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to attempt it. Definitely playing it safe there. That's a correct thing to do for sure. And Aaron's actually made up quite a lot of time on the back of the grid here, so it'll be interesting to see. You know, the king of the recovery drivers, we call him. It'll be interesting to see how much he is able to recover here. We got a yellow flag at the start of sector 2 here as well. It's Josh H has just got a little wide. It looks like Aaron managed to clip him there, so it didn't look like the ghosting actually kicked in, or maybe it did kick in, but just a little bit late. But yeah, thankfully Aaron didn't lose too much time from that. That could have been another disaster for Aaron. And Josh H is a very, very unfortunate mistake there by Josh. We do have a couple of replays to check out. This is a replay of Hoo-Ha's overtake into turn 1 on lap 1. As you can see, Aaron's quite laggy there. I'm not really sure what's going on, but just makes a mighty lunge down the inside of CC21 and Aaron Thompson there into turn 1, and manages to make it stick as well. So, and then we've got Aaron's overtake here on Rudzy. This was the prior lap to the contact between Aaron and Rudzy, so Aaron actually did get a clean overtake on him on lap 1, but I think Rudzy overtook him along the straight with the straight line speed of that Peugeot. And then we've got a replay of Aaron's incident on lap 2 here. And yeah, as you can see, Aaron just locking up the brakes, sliding into Rudzy. Did punt Rudzy into the wall, but thankfully Rudzy was able to get away relatively clean. And that's it for the replays for now. As we're following Velikor, the race leader here, he has managed to create a bit of breathing distance between himself and Hoo-Ha here. But again, I imagine Hoo-Ha will likely make up a lot of this time in the cornering sections. As you can see, the car's getting really, really squirrely in the braking sections of turn 1 there. It is a really heavy braking zone. You know, some of these cars are approaching nearly 290 kilometers an hour, and you know, to get on the brakes as hard as you can and shifting it from 6th gear down to 1st gear whilst keeping it straight is definitely not an easy thing to do. And you can see some of the guys sort of battling the car's rear ends, starting to sort of float around and kick out a little. Well, let's go for an onboard lap with Hoo-Ha here as he sits behind Velikor, and you can just see the level of visibility these guys have in these conditions. The amount of spray from the lead car is no joke, really. It's quite intense, and a lot of our drivers actually do drive in cockpit view as well, I think. So you know, this is essentially what their view looks like for the full 30 laps, more or less. And not only that, but the dirty air or the wake behind these cars as well is quite difficult to follow, especially in these conditions. It makes the rear end of the car a lot looser, much easier to break traction and spin the car. As you can see, Hoo-Ha getting down into 3rd gear for this corner. Does manage to clip the inside wall there a little. And that's unfortunate corner exit there by Hoo-Ha. Didn't quite swing the car wide enough in order to get on the power early enough, and as you can see, Velikor has managed to pull away quite significantly from Hoo-Ha now with his corner exit. We'll actually go on a full muted onboard lap with Velikor here as he starts the beginning of lap 7. It doesn't look like this car's actually got a cockpit view, so we'll go with hood cam. I will mute the microphone, give myself a bit of a breather, give my voice a little bit of a rest, and yeah, a full onboard lap with Velikor here. Come to the end of lap 7 here in the onboard lap with Velikor, and as you can see, Hoo-Ha getting real close to the rear end of Velikor there. It's absolutely amazing how close these guys are able to get to one another in these sorts of driving conditions. There's definitely a very clear level of respect between the two drivers here. And I think that after 9 weeks of racing and battling with each other week after week, I think these two guys have really just grown comfortable with each other's driving styles and are able to predict almost what each other are going to do at this point, and allow each other the room and the on-track respect that is required in order to race cleanly in these types of conditions. But this is absolutely epic. You know, lap 8 now, and these guys are still absolutely neck and neck, and they have created quite a significant gap between themselves and the rest of the grid here. So we've got CC still cruising around back in P3 here, but it looks like he's probably dropped about 6 seconds behind Velikor and Hoo-Ha. And Rudsy's not far behind him at all, actually. He's probably only about, maybe, I'd say about 2 to 3 seconds behind him. So Rudsy's still definitely in contention for to steal P3 off CC21 here. And I do think that, you know, within the next couple of laps, I imagine people will be making their pit stops, and the one thing that is going to be very significant in this rate is pit strategy as well. So it'll be really interesting to see, you know, what laps the grid do pit, and what sort of fuel strategies everyone's running. And we'll take a look through the rest of the grid now. We've got Toe Cutter cruising along back in P5. Gets a little sideways in that corner. Thankfully, the wall saves him. And Boothie back in P6, who's having a fantastic race, actually. He's, you know, pretty comfortably in the points for now. And again, gets a little sideways through that section. So it would seem that that section for a lot of these guys is quite difficult for them to keep it straight. And we've got John Citizen back in P7, so he has managed to overtake Kiwi and Oz. Kiwi and Oz back in P8, and Aaron's actually managed to move his way up into P9, so he's making up quite a significant amount of ground. And look at the amount of spray between these cars. It is absolutely unreal. Honestly, how do you see anything? That is wild. That's not a bad line by Aaron there. He could have gone a little wider for the corner exit, but I'd say he probably just wanted to cover the inside line from Philly. And Aaron does appear to have got a better corner exit than Kiwi and Oz here, so Aaron could potentially make a move on Kiwi down on this straight, or maybe even into turn 1 if he's able to get on the brakes a little later and keep it clean. We will follow this battle for a little bit and see if Aaron's able to get this pass on Kiwi here. The straight line speed of that BRZ is definitely struggling to get the move done on Kiwi, as Aaron manages to go up the outside of both John and Kiwi here. It'll be interesting to see if he can make this work. John covers the inside line of turn 1 there, and Aaron has to concede that position, but Aaron does manage to make one pass, and Aaron goes up the inside of the exit corner there, managing to nearly. I was going to say he managing to get the overtake on John there, but no, John manages to hold on to P7 for now. Aaron does get the overtake done on Kiwi and Oz though, so that puts Aaron up into P8 for now. Kiwi and Oz back in P9, Vital Philly back in P10, and Josh H back in P11, who is a fair ways off at the moment, so it would appear that he has unfortunately made quite a few mistakes in the early stages of this race, so hopefully he can keep it clean and make up a bit more ground. And then, yeah, Velikor and Hoo-Ha still absolutely neck and neck. Hoo-Ha still creeping on the rear end of Velikor lap after lap. As we approach the end of lap 9 and the start of lap 10 here, you can see Velikor attempting to break the slipstream of Hoo-Ha. I don't know that it's entirely necessary, as Hoo-Ha, even in this slipstream, isn't going to catch him. I will say though, these two guys have some very nice liveries on their car. As you can see, Velikor representing the CKR Green team, which is the team that he is driving for alongside with Boothie. And Hoo-Ha with that beautiful sort of like retro Subaru livery, I think it is, like one of the old rally liveries, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Let me know in the comments, guys. I think it's one of the old Colin McRae rally liveries. And CC21 cruising back in P3. Rudzi has made up quite a lot of ground on him actually, so it would appear that either CC is just dropping off pace-wise, or maybe he's fuel saving. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, Rudzi is gaining on him pretty quickly. And at this rate, I think it's relatively safe to assume that Rudzi could potentially be on for an overtake into P3 within the next couple of laps, unless he does pit, which is quite possible. I do know that the fuel usage in this Peugeot is quite high. Due to the amount of straight line speed it has, it does use up quite a bit more fuel than some of the other cars on this track. And again, look how close these guys are. It is, I know I keep saying it, but honestly, this is just superb driving from both Velikor and Hoo-Ha. The fact that he's able to stay this close to the rear end of Velikor and not make a single mistake is really impressive in and of itself. And I think it's possible that we may see some of the grid starting to make pit stops at the end of this lap, potentially. Depending on who is on a two-stop strategy. As we approach the end of lap 10 here, we've got Velikor in P1, Hoo-Ha in P2, CC21 in P3, Rudzi in P4, Tokata P5, Boothie P6, Aaron P7, who has managed to get the move done on John, who is now in P8, Kiwi back in P9, Philly in P10, and Josh H in P11. And it looks like both Velikor and Hoo-Ha are coming into the pits now. And as you can see, look at that fuel difference. Now, keep in mind, Hoo-Ha did spend about 10 laps in Velikor's slipstream the entire time, so he would have saved quite a lot of fuel there. But this will be really interesting. There is actual possibility here that Hoo-Ha will get out ahead of Velikor in this pit stop, due to the fact that he has to put significantly less fuel in his car. Velikor only had, I think it was 1 litre left in the tank, so he was basically running on empty, whereas Hoo-Ha had 25 litres still in the tank. So Hoo-Ha could have actually got a couple more laps out of the car. And as you can see, Hoo-Ha's out of the pits already. And Velikor is still in the pits. So it looks like Velikor's probably going to lose about 10 seconds of time to Hoo-Ha here in the first lot of pit stops. And that just comes down to purely the fuel usage of these cars. So yeah, Velikor is about 8 to 10 seconds behind Hoo-Ha after the first round of pit stops there, which is very, very interesting. That just goes to show the amount of the difference in fuel between the BRZ and the Peugeot here. You know, just because the Peugeot is quicker down the straights doesn't necessarily mean that it's the better car for the long run. If you're able to save about 10 seconds on your pit stops by only having to put in less fuel, then that could spell disaster for Velikor at the end of the race here, and could potentially put Hoo-Ha very comfortably in contention for first place. But CC21, after those 2 pit stops by Hoo-Ha and Velikor, has managed to move up into P1 for now. I do imagine that when CC does pit, he will potentially move back into P3 or maybe even P4. But the fact that CC didn't pit in the last lap, that tells me that he could potentially be on a one-stop strategy here, which is very interesting. I imagine that, now don't get me wrong, the Porsche is great on fuel, but I imagine that he would have to do some level of fuel saving in order to get it out to a one-stop. But if he is able to do a one-stop, that could potentially be a really good strategy for him and put him in a really good position for you know, a really decent podium result at the end of the race. So CC21 will definitely be one to follow for the duration of this race. But it looks like Velikor actually came out of the pits into traffic between John and Kiwi and Oz here, and Velikor has been able to overtake John Citizen in the earlier parts of this lap. And it'll be interesting to see if Velikor is able to get a good enough corner exit here in order to catch Kiwi on this straight and make a move on him down into turn 1. We'll keep an eye on this and see if Velikor is able to get this job done. He is a fair way away at the moment, and that Mercedes does have pretty decent straight line speed, so I don't think he'll be able to get it done. Actually, no, it looks like Kiwi's pulling into the pits now, the end of lap 11 for his first pit stop, so that puts Velikor up into P3 and John Citizen up into P4. I don't think John's pitted yet either, so he will likely have to make a stop within the next couple of laps. There we've got Hoo-Ha cruising along in P2 at the moment, with CC21 probably what looks like maybe about 15 seconds ahead of Hoo-Ha at the moment. But he is definitely doing slower lap times than Hoo-Ha, so Hoo-Ha will be catching him by maybe 1 to 2 seconds per lap. Hoo-Ha does also hold the fastest lap of the race at the moment as well, with a 2:13.8. Yeah, we've got Kiwi and Oz in the pits now, pulling out, and he is going to pull out in potentially P9 here. Yeah, P9 as Boothie manages to get the overtake on him right at the end of the pit lane there. We might actually go for an onboard lap with Kiwi now. I will mute my microphone and we'll watch full onboard lap with Kiwi and Aussie. I don't think he's had many onboard laps, so we'll see how this goes. Not a great turn 1, but hopefully the rest of the lap goes okay. coming to the end of lap 12 now with the onboard riding with Kiwi and Oz here. And as you can see, I would say that he's probably put fresh tyres on the car in his last pit stop there. As you can see, the cold fresh tyres definitely giving quite a lot of understeer in these conditions. It does take a couple laps for the tyres to wear in and really start sort of biting into the tarmac. As we've got John Citizen coming out of the pits now for his, I believe, first stop at the beginning of lap 13 here. But yeah, Velikor and Hoo-Ha still about 10 seconds apart from each other. So yeah, again, Hoo-Ha's pit strategy, you know, pitting a little early and only having to put, you know, about 75 litres of fuel in the car, whereas Velikor had to put in 99 litres, has given Hoo-Ha about a 10-second advantage. And I don't know that Velikor is going to be able to make up that ground, in all honesty, because due to the fact that they're both pitted on lap 10 would tell me that they are on a two-stop strategy. And I imagine it will be pretty much the same scenario for their second stops as well. So, you know, Velikor will pretty much use a full tank of fuel within 10 laps, whereas Hoo-Ha, you know, could potentially stretch it out to maybe lap 23 or 24 and only have to put 6 laps of fuel in. So yeah, Velikor's definitely got his work cut out for him if he wants to get that P1 finish, or even P2, as CC is still sitting pretty comfortably in P1 for now. But yeah, Hoo-Ha, the pit strategy master, seems like he's able to one-up Velikor quite consistently with his pit strategies. Both of them have very, very similar pace in a lot of these races, but you know, when it comes to the race win between these two guys, it really just comes down to pit strategy more than anything, you know. And Hoo-Ha has definitely shown time and time again that he is able to, you know, get the strategy, get the race strategy down a little better than Velikor in most cases. Velikor only really, you know, winning over on Hoo-Ha in the races where a one-stop is achievable and comfortable for both drivers. But yeah, this is only week 9 of the 12-week league, so anything can happen in these last, you know, 4 races, this one included. As we'll go take a look through the rest of this, the rest of the grid here. Velikor's actually on a purple lap at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to steal the fastest lap from Hoo-Ha. And Raji is still cruising pretty comfortably back in P4. He is a fair way behind. Sorry about that. He is a fair way behind Velikor at the moment. It looks like maybe about 15 to 20 seconds behind Velikor. But yeah, cruising quite comfortably back in P4, followed by Toe Cutter, his teammate in the CKR blue team. If these guys can finish in these positions, that'll be a really good points haul for the blue team in the team's championship. So they're both of these guys doing an absolutely fantastic job. And it looks like CC21 now is pulling into the pits at the end of lap 14 here. At the beginning of lap 15, essentially. He is opting for a tyre change and a bit of fuel. So I would say that, yeah, CC21 potentially on a one-stop strategy here. And it'll be really interesting to see where he actually comes out in the grid, and whether or not Velikor is able to overtake CC21 here in this pit stop. As Velikor's coming down the home straight now, CC21 still putting fuel in the tank. And it does look like Velikor is going to be able to overtake him. And he does. So Velikor is up into P2 now after CC21's, what I can only assume is his one and only pit stop for this race. But again, Velikor is on a two-stop strategy, so it'll be really interesting to see if Velikor is able to stretch out a large enough gap over CC21 in order to stay ahead of him after his second pit stop in what I can only assume is within the next 5 laps. But Velikor and Hoo-Ha again just lapping so closely to one another. You know, the gap between these two guys is staying fairly consistent lap after lap. And they did have an absolutely epic battle for the first 10 laps. What a monumental effort by Velikor to defend for 10 laps in a row and, you know, not allow Hoo-Ha to get by. It's fantastic to see. We've got Aaron Thompson cruising back in P6. He's getting really close actually to the tail end of Toe Cutter here. He's probably only about 2 seconds away from him. They do have a back marker between them in Josh H, who hopefully is able to get out of the way and allow Aaron to get through relatively cleanly. We'll keep an eye on this for a bit. We've actually got a replay to check out of Aaron's double overtake on lap 9, so we'll have a quick look at that. As you can see, getting by Kiwi in on the home straight here, and then managing to get John as well. John does manage to regain that position in the first corner, but yeah, that's great driving by Aaron there. Exceptional straight line speed, especially out of the BRZ as well. As you can see, Aaron still cruising behind Josh H, who is the back marker, so I imagine that Josh will likely just get out of the way and let Aaron by, probably on the home straight here. He hasn't held him up too much on this lap. It's interesting that Josh isn't conceding the position here. He really should just be pulling over to the side and letting Aaron by, but it looks like Aaron's got the straight line speed to get by him anyway, so not really too much of an issue. As they come down into turn 1 here, braking just before the 200-meter marker. Shifting from 6 down into first gear. Let the car roll out a little wide, cut it back in for a better corner exit. That's a great turn by Aaron there. Getting that little bit closer to Toe Cutter lap after lap. And this has already been a fantastic recovery drive from Aaron after his lap 2 incident with Hoo-Ha and losing about probably nearly 40 seconds. You know, going from P11 up into P6 already. We're only in lap 16 now. Is quite a great effort, so great work to Aaron on that. As we've got Boothie cruising along back in P7, having a pretty decent race. And this will be his second race with the Clutch Kickers Racing League, and obviously this race isn't over yet, but to finish in the points potentially for both of the races he's been in so far is a fantastic result. You know, we do have quite a stacked grid. You know, a lot of these guys are, you know, they are pretty quick. So to jump into a league like this as a novice or an amateur, and you know, be finishing in the points in your first 2 races is a pretty significant achievement. You know, definitely not something to shrug off. So great work to Boothie, who is teammates with Velicor in the CKR Green team. So if both of these guys can finish in the points, that'll be a pretty good haul for them. We'll go check out Hoo-Ha. His teammate's actually Pete Man, who unfortunately wasn't able to attend this race. But as you can see, Hoo-Ha is 200s up on his fastest lap, which at the moment is a 2:13.2, which is a fantastic lap time. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to beat that on this lap. And the amount of speed he's able to carry through these corners, as he does manage to clip the wall there a little. It doesn't cost him too much time though. It seems as though he's just able to sort of bounce off it and maintain a lot of his speed, which is, you know, questionable, but it is what it is. Getting a little bit sideways there. He is able to catch it, and unfortunately he has lost quite a lot of time through Sector 2 here. Doesn't look like it's going to be the fastest lap for Hoo-Ha. We'll go check out Velicor here. who actually has unfortunately lost a bit of time to Hoo-Ha. He's probably sitting at about 15 seconds behind Hoo-Ha now, so Hoo-Ha does appear to be, you know, upping the pace a little and starting to pull away from Velikor a bit. But I think at this stage of the race, Velikor has come to terms with the fact that a P1 finish is looking quite unlikely, and it's probably pushing for a P2 finish at this stage. But again, CC21 appears to be on a one-stop strategy, so, you know, unless Velikor is able to extend this gap by, I'd say probably another 20 seconds over CC, then CC's probably going to overtake Velikor when Velikor makes his second pit stop, I would say. So at this rate, it's looking like Velikor could potentially go from P1 back to P3 in this race, which is not ideal. Obviously, still a podium finish, but I'm sure he's going to be a little bit gutted about that, and potentially have to, you know, revisit his fuel strategies and pit stop strategies for these future races in order to ensure that, you know, these sorts of things don't happen again. And CC21 coming down into the first corner now. It does manage to go a little wide, which is a bit unfortunate, and goes far too wide, jeopardizing his corner exit there. So that's, yeah, 300 slower than his fastest lap in the first corner there. That's quite unfortunate. And Rudzy back in P4, who has managed to drop off a little from CC, but again, I think that Rudzy's probably lapping a little quicker than CC here at the moment, so it is possible that Rudzy is able to catch him. He does appear to be only about maybe 3 to 4 seconds behind CC at the moment, so there is definitely you know, potential and possibility for Rudzy to catch CC if he's able to keep it clean and consistent. I would assume that you know, if Rudzy's able to get a good corner exit in the last corner of the track onto the long home straight with the straight line speed that the Peugeot has over the Porsche, I reckon Rudzy could make up nearly a second on CC just on the straight alone. So this will be very interesting to see, actually, as Aaron Thompson's moved up into P5 now. He is only about maybe 10 seconds behind Rudzy right now, so I'd say he's pushing really hard in order to close as much of that gap as he possibly can. I do believe that Rudzy and Aaron are on two-stop strategies, so they both will have to stop again at some point, or so I can assume. That's a good line by Aaron in that last corner. Cuts in and gets on the throttle early for the perfect corner exit there. That's a great line. And we'll go through our grid order real quick, as we've got Hoo-Ha cruising along in P1 quite comfortably, and about 15 or so seconds behind him is Velikor in P2, followed by CC21, who's about a further 15 seconds behind Velikor, followed by Rudzy, who's about maybe 5 to 6 seconds behind CC21 right now. And then we've got Aaron sitting back in P5, who's probably about 10 seconds behind Rudzy. And then Toe Cutter back in P6, who's a fair way behind Aaron. I'd say that's probably about a 20-second gap between those two guys. And then Boothie behind Toe Cutter, who's not far behind him at all, actually, probably only about 2 seconds. So there's a decent fight for P6 going on here between Toe Cutter and Boothie. And then Kiwi and Oz in P8, followed by John Citizen in P9, who are relatively close to each other as well. So these guys fighting for position lap after lap. And then Josh H back in P10. And unfortunately, it does look like we've lost Vital Philly, who unfortunately has a frequent issue with disconnecting from these lobbies. So definitely gonna have to chat to him and figure out if we can sort out, you know, what's causing that and figure out some sort of fix. But I'll tell you who we haven't done an onboard lap with in quite a while is John Citizen. So I'll mute my microphone again and we'll go for an onboard lap with John Citizen, who hasn't managed to get a whole lot of camera time over the last couple of videos. So this one's for you, Johnny. John comes around the last corner now for the end of lap 19. As you can see, the RX Vision obviously very sort of snap oversteery in these types of conditions. John almost losing it a couple of times there on that lap. But I imagine that a lot of these two-stop guys will likely be making their second pit stop within the next couple of laps here. Which, to my knowledge, is pretty much the entire grid at this point, except for CC21. Now, Velikor has been able to put a fairly significant gap over CC21, so it looks as though there's probably about a 20 to 25 second gap between these two guys. I do not, however, think that is going to be... I don't, however, think that's going to be enough to allow Velikor to stay ahead of CC21 after Velikor's second pit stop, which should be coming up really soon. So this will definitely be one to follow here, as Velikor could potentially lose position to CC21. As we've got Hoo-Ha in the pits now, opting for a tyre change and fuel. And again, you know, Hoo-Ha with nearly a quarter of a tank of fuel in the car, so distinct advantage over Velikor again, as Velikor pulls into the pits now, and as you can see, he's only got 1 litre of fuel in the car, so that's about a 10-second difference in pit stop time between the two of these guys, due to the fact that Hoo-Ha has significantly more fuel in the car, and Hoo-Ha's already out of the pits, and Velikor hasn't even got he's only just past a quarter of a tank of fuel in the car now, so yeah, it's quite unfortunate. Obviously, the fuel usage of this Peugeot has been the downfall of Velikor in this race. We've got Rudzy in the pits as well, opting for a tyre change and fuel for his second stop. And that is a very, very lengthy pit stop for Velikor. As Velikor comes out of the pits now, and yeah, as I said, he unfortunately has lost position to CC21, and it looks as though CC21's actually about probably 15 to 20 seconds ahead of him after that pit stop, so Velikor's really going to have to get a move on if he plans to catch CC by the end of the race. But CC21 has been lapping very cleanly and consistently for 21 laps now, so it's highly unlikely that he's going to make a major mistake. If he's able to just keep it clean and get it to the end of the race with no major mistakes, then it's looking very likely that CC21 will finish the race in P2 here, which is absolutely phenomenal effort, fantastic result, and he's actually made up quite a lot of ground on Hoo-Ha in those pit stops as well. So it would appear that the one-stop strategy is definitely paying off for CC21 here. But again, due to the fact that I can only imagine CC21 will have to fuel save a bit if he isn't already, I don't think it's likely that he will catch Hoo-Ha. I imagine that Hoo-Ha will start to pull away from him within these next couple of laps. As most of the grid now has made their second stops, we'll have a look at the grid order real quick. We've got Hoo-Ha sitting in P1, followed by CC21 in P2, and Velikor, who's gone from P1 at the start of the race back into P3 after the pit stops. That's just purely due to fuel usage and the amount of time it takes to fill the tank in the Peugeot. Losing a minimum of 10 seconds each stop to the cars that are using less fuel, which is very unfortunate. But Velikor, doing great to just finish in P3 at this stage. He's followed by Toe Cutter, who's currently sitting in P4, so I think it's possible that Toe Cutter might not have made his second stop just yet. He's followed by Rudzy in P5, Aaron Thompson in P6, Kiwi and Oz back in P7, John Citizen cruising along in P8, Boothie in P9, and Josh H back in P10. Lap 22 of 30 in this 30-lap race around Tokyo Expressway in torrential rain. This is the east counterclockwise layout as well, for those of you that are wondering. And Tokyo is just a beautiful track to drive, really. It's a lot of fun, as Toe Cutter makes his second pit stop now at the end of lap 21 here.
So I was correct in assuming that Toe Cutter hadn't made his second pit stop just yet. That does put Rudsey up into P4, Aaron up into P5, Kiwi into P6, John Citizen in P7, and Toe Cutter back in P8. I don't think Boothie's going to be able to pass him, unfortunately. Oh, he might actually. We'll wait and see here. There is a possibility that Boothie may overtake Toe Cutter in Toe Cutter's pit stop here. As we all know just how long the pit stop is for the Peugeot, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, unfortunately. Toe Cutter's out of the pits now, and Boothie's still a fair way behind him, so Toe Cutter manages to hold on to P8, Boothie back in P9, Josh H back in P10. And as you can see, yeah, as I predicted, Hoo-Ha is steadily, you know, pulling away lap after lap from CC21. And it does appear as though Velikor is slowly catching CC21, so he's definitely, you know, putting his head down and doing his absolute best to make up as much ground as he can in the last 8 laps of this race. But if he is able to catch him, that'll be an absolutely monumental effort, as that is a very, very significant gap to close. Might actually go for an onboard lap with CC21. I don't know if we've done an onboard lap with CC21 this race, but if so, then oh well. Here's another one. Come to the end of lap 23 here with the onboard lap of CC21, and as you can see, in comparison to a lot of the other onboard laps we've done this race, the Porsche is just so smooth in the wet. You know, it's probably one of, if not the best car to drive in the wet. Doesn't quite match the top speed of a lot of the other cars, but definitely makes up for it with its handling capabilities in these types of conditions. As CC21 runs a 2:16 there, we'll see. We'll go on board with, well, not on board, but we'll follow Velikor here as he finishes the end of his lap 23, coming down the home straight here to see what kind of time Velikor's running. And this will give us a good estimation of, you know, how much time Velikor's running. So Velikor runs a 2:15 there, which is probably a little slow for him, actually. I'd say that's probably one of his slower laps. He may have made a couple of mistakes. But at that rate, I don't think Velikor is going to catch CC by the end of the race. There's only 6 laps left in the race, and Velikor is probably a good maybe 10 to 12 seconds behind CC21 at this rate. So in order to catch him, he's going to have to lap about 2 seconds quicker than CC21 every lap on average, which is definitely doable, but it's absolutely not an easy thing to do. As Aaron and Rudsey probably got about a 10-second gap between these two guys after their second round of pit stops. And it looks as though a lot of the grid has managed to settle into their positions at this point in the race. We've got John Citizen in the pits now, and I do believe that Kiwi and Oz made his second stop on lap 22 as well. But yeah, a lot of the grid is sort of sitting pretty comfortably in their positions at this point. So it's looking quite likely that the current grid order will be, you know, the finishing order for the race. Of course, it's not over till it's over. Anything could happen, but yeah, unless there's some sort of major mistake by the drivers, everyone is cruising around very comfortably in their positions with not really much to worry about. Sarian gets a little hairy there, bouncing off the outside wall of that corner quite a few times. I just want to say as well, you know, I commend every driver in this grid for this race, that just how clean and consistent every driver's been able to keep it. I expected a lot more mistakes and a lot more accidents this race, but as you can see, we've only had 4 replays worth showing throughout this entire race, and that's really just goes to show how clean and how consistent and how well these guys have been able to drive in these conditions. So hats off to the entire grid there. I commend everyone for that. Toe Cutter and Boothie actually are really close to each other. Boothie's only about maybe 1.5 seconds behind Toe Cutter, so we might actually follow this for a bit and see if Boothie is potentially able to make a move on Toe Cutter. As they come around the last corner here, Boothie does get it a little bit sideways, manages to control the slide into the corner, which is great to see. And gets it a little bit sideways again there on the corner exit. Unfortunately, that is going to jeopardise his exit speed and give Toe Cutter the advantage down the straight. But yeah, we might come back to this in a little bit. So we've also got John Citizen and Kiwi and Oz relatively close to each other as well. Looks like Hoo-Ha is approaching a couple of the back markers now, as you know, just a couple seconds ahead of him along this straight is I think it's John Citizen and Kiwi and Oz, if I'm not mistaken. And this gap between Velicor and CC again is slowly coming down, but yeah, not quick enough, I don't think. I could be wrong. Velicor might really put the pressure on at the, you know, in the last 5 laps of this race here, but unfortunately it's not looking good for Velicor. Obviously a podium result is still a fantastic result to get, but yeah, due to the fact that he did qualify in P1, you know, going from P1 to P3 in this race for a front runner like Velicor is, you know, he's definitely going to have to go back to the drawing board after this race and figure out, you know, where things went wrong and how do we prevent these sorts of things from happening in the future. He has had a really clean and consistent race, actually. His lap times have been fantastic. You know, he's made absolutely no mistakes. As you can see, there's no body damage on that car at all. It really just comes down to, you know, poor pit and fuel strategy, really, which has cost him probably at least 30 seconds in this race in comparison to CC21 and Hoo-Ha. But props to CC21, you know, doing this race on a one-stop strategy. That's absolutely phenomenal, mate. As we've got Josh H as managed to get it sideways again through sector 2 of the track here. So he seems to be struggling a lot more than the other guys in these sorts of conditions. But it all comes down to practice, mate. I'd also like to point out the fact that, you know, even the guys that aren't necessarily as quick as the front runners and, you know, might not be finishing in the points every race, it's so humbling and just amazing to see them still attending, you know, race after race. It's absolutely fantastic. So props to Josh, man. Like, you know, obviously putting in the effort every week to try and learn and get quicker, and, you know, just just attending the races every week is going to allow you to get faster and get better at you know, driving these sorts of cars, mate. So, you know, keep at it, and you'll be running with the front guys in no time. As we've got Hoo-Ha's managed to get by Kiwi and Oz here, but Kiwi and Oz is right on his tail. And Kiwi gets a little early on the brakes there, realizing that he is a back marker, and making a lunge on Hoo-Ha in turn 1 is definitely not the right thing to do. As Hoo-Ha gets a little sideways on the corner exit there, but manages to catch it. And it looks as though Toe Cutter has been able to pull away slightly from Boothie in these past couple of laps. They were neck and neck at one point, but it's looking as though there's probably about a 2-second gap between them now. And John Citizen and Kiwi's the same scenario, really. John's been able to pull away slightly from Kiwi and Oz. As we've got Hoo-Ha approaching another back marker here in John Citizen. John Citizen with the blue flags waving. It is really difficult to overtake in this sector of the track, so it's quite difficult for John to, you know, find the right time to pull over and let him by. I think the best place to do is probably just going to be on the home straight down here. And we'll see if John is the gentleman and gets out of the way for Hoo-Ha along this straight. Actually, I'm sure Hoo-Ha probably wouldn't even mind getting the slipstream down this straight now that I think about it. Listen to the scream of that Mazda as well. It sounds like a Formula 1 car. It's great. As you can see, John getting out of the way of Hoo-Ha there, which is great to see. We've got CC21 heading down the home straight now. Starting his 28th lap of this race, so 2 laps left in the race. And as you can see, he's currently running 3 seconds slower than his fastest lap, so I think it's relatively safe to assume that he's definitely fuel saving. And Velicor is catching him quite significantly actually, so it would appear that Velicor's maybe only about 8 seconds behind him at this point. I'm not sure what Velicor's last lap time was. This could be interesting though. This could actually be really close between Velicor and CC21 here. We'll go and check out the rest of the grid here. We've got Rudsey still comfortably cruising along in P4. He's had quite a lonely race for about half of this race now, but I'm sure he's not too fussed about that. You know, pretty happy with a P4 finish, I would say. And then Aaron Thompson, quite a ways behind Rudsey in P5 now, as he comes across the start-finish line here to start his lap 28. And Hoo-Ha now approaching the rear end of Boothie, so he's actually starting to lap the middle of the field now, which is quite impressive. And he has just set the fastest lap of the race as well with a 2:12.475. So his pace in the later stages of this race is absolutely blistering, showing no signs of letting up. And Boothie just holds the inside line there in order to let Hoo-Ha go around the outside. That's a great job by Boothie there. It's fantastic to see, you know, these guys understanding the conditions of the blue flag and following them to a T. Velikor setting at 2:14 there. So he is making up about 2 seconds a lap on CC21 at the moment. But he does appear to still be about 6 seconds behind him, so due to the fact there's only 2 laps left in this race, it's looking quite unlikely that Velikor will catch him at this point. Hoo-Ha now coming up to the rear end of Toe Cutter. About to lap P6 as it comes around the final corner now. And Hoo-Ha's looking very comfortable for a P1 finish in this race. Absolutely phenomenal effort by Hoo-Ha here. Great fuel strategy, great pit strategy, and just a great drive for a full 30 laps in these types of conditions. You know, so minimal mistakes, only really clipping a wall here and there, but not really costing himself too much time. Just blistering pace and consistent at it as well. That's got him the comfortable race win as he starts his final lap of the race now. We've got CC21 coming around the last corner now, and Velikor also coming around the last corner, so he's not far behind CC at all now. As you can see, Velikor is creeping in the background of CC21 here, so he's definitely making ground on him at quite a consistent rate. I think just due to the fact that CC21 has been able to pull off this race on a one-stop strategy is absolutely phenomenal in and of itself, really. If CC21 does make a mistake on this lap though, there's a very good chance that Velikor will catch him. It is unlikely though, he has been able to keep it pretty clean for 30 laps now. Tell you what though, Hoo-Ha has just absolutely gapped the entire field here. He's probably got about a 30 to 40 second advantage over CC21 and Velikor here. He's just comfortably cruising along in P1 with absolutely no competition whatsoever. As he comes around the last corner now, onto the home straight for what will be a superb drive by Hoo-Ha and a P1 finish. That's a fantastic effort by Hoo-Ha. Fantastic drive, exceptional pit strategy and fuel strategy. And really just shined from start to finish in this race. The celebratory handbrake slide across the line. When you've got a 40-second lead, why not, eh? Now we've got CC21 coming around the last corner now. Velikor is probably about 3 to 4 seconds behind him here, so it doesn't look like Velikor is going to be able to overtake CC, and that's an absolutely exceptional drive by CC21 for another podium finish for him. I think this is his second or third podium finish in the league now, so he's doing fantastic, really. You know, showing improvement week after week, and to be able to keep that Peugeot at bay in the Porsche on this track is definitely a fantastic effort. So great drive by CC21 there. Congratulations on P2, mate. We've got Velikor crossing the line now in P3. And Rudzi coming around the last corner now in P4. Aaron is about 20 seconds behind Rudsey, so Rudsey's comfortably in P4 for the end of this race here. It's a good drive by Rudsey. Again, pretty uneventful drive. Didn't really have a whole lot of company for this race. Had pretty clean breathing air in front and behind him. Just able to comfortably get around the track lap after lap for a P4 finish. And again, the handbrake slide. And Aaron Thompson coming down along the home straight now in the Subaru BRZ for a P5 finish, which is honestly a fantastic result after his lap 2 incident that put him from, I think it was P4, all the way back down into P11 and cost him about 40 seconds. So it's quite possible that if he didn't have that accident, he may have potentially even finished on the podium. So that's a great drive by Aaron. But that is the end of the race, so we'll go through the grid order for the end of the race here. We've got Hoo-Ha in P1, CC21 in P2, Velikor in P3, Rudsey in P4, Aaron Thompson in P5, Toe Cutter in P6, Boothie in P7, John Citizen in P8, Kiwi and Oz in P9, and Josh H in P10. As we take a real quick look at the drivers' points here after this race, and as you can see, Velikor and Hoo-Ha absolutely neck and neck, only 5 points between them, and then Aaron Thompson sitting in P3 on 297 points. John Citizen moved his way up into P4 in this race at 198 points, and we've got Toe Cutter on 191 and CC21 on 189 points. So there's really not many points between John Citizen and CC21 here in this league. And we've got Rudsey in 7th place with 185 points. Pete Man, who unfortunately wasn't able to attend this race, currently sitting on 131 points. And Vital Philly, who unfortunately disconnected yet again from this race, on 124 points. We've got Kiwi and Oz on 80 points. And Boothie, who's managed to score 30 points in each of his 2 league races now, as we check out the team's leaderboard here as well. And the CKR Red team still holding a fairly considerable lead in the team's championship at the moment. Hoo-Ha and Pete Man on a combined total of 482 points, followed by Velikor and Boothie on 416 points. Oz Eagle and Kiwi and Oz on 377. Toe Cutter and Rudsey only 1 point behind them on 376. And then CC21 and Vital Philly on 313. John Citizen and Josh H on 198. And Pasty Bart, who is a new entrant that unfortunately wasn't able to attend this race, currently sitting on 0 points due to the fact that he hasn't actually attended a league race just yet. He also doesn't have a partner, so yeah, it is what it is. But that's going to be the end of this race, guys. I appreciate you hanging around for a little over an hour now, and I do apologize if this race was maybe not as eventful as some of the other ones. Again, I'm not feeling the greatest, and to be honest, this race was pretty uneventful for the 30 laps. Not quite as dramatic as I thought it would be, but it is what it is. You know, you can't have dramatic, close, fast-paced racing at every track. So if you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to subscribe. That way you'll get notifications on when the uploads do come up. And next week we've got round 10 of the league, which is going to be 30 laps around the Red Bull Ring. And judging by the lap times that a lot of the guys are running in the practice sessions, this one will be a really close race. So you're definitely not going to miss that one. But yeah, take it easy, guys. Appreciate you hanging out. And I'll catch you for the next one.